Good afternoon and welcome to the Next Gen Planners Big Breakfast Conference Special.
It's actually the big T. That was a problem in my script.
That's not a very good start, is it?
I am Dan Graham.
And I'm Amanda Watson, and we are here every day during conference week to bring you insights from amazing people in financial planning.
So thank you all very, very much for joining us this afternoon for this week's series of special shows as part of the Global Financial Planning Conference 2022, which is happening tomorrow and Wednesday. And throughout the show and the week, we want to hear from you guys. So please ping us a message in the live chat to your right-hand side or below you on LinkedIn. And in particular, today, we want to hear your views on our big topic, which is difficult to say, which is following on from this morning, it's financial coaching and wellbeing.
Yes, so we have three awesome guests lined up for you. First up, we've got Claire Evans from Voyant, Rebecca Kowalski from Overstory, and Becca Timmins from When We Think. Great, so let's get straight into it. And with our first guest, Claire from Voyant. How are you doing today, Claire?
Hi, Amanda. I'm really well, thanks.
Great.
Sorry, everyone. I'm messing around with the screen today. But thank you so much for joining us, Claire. It's a pleasure to have you on the show and catch up with you because it's been a while since I've actually seen you. Now, we're hugely grateful here at Next Gen Planners for the support that you guys at Voyant are giving us this year to support the conference. But just very quickly, why is it that you guys chose to sponsor the mega conference this year?
Well, I think it's fair to say that we're big champions of what you guys do over at Next Gen. The community framework that you provide to your members is really unique, and it's just great to be involved in that. But also, I think we really want to showcase how passionate we are in developing tools to really help financial planners and help them to show clients that they're listening, which obviously is going to build trust and really deepen those client conversations. So sponsoring the conference was absolutely the right thing to do.
Amazing. It's going to be a great conference. So our big topic today is financial coaching and wellbeing. So how can financial planners use cash flow tools like Voyant when approaching financial coaching with their clients?
Well, I think that coaching and Voyant really goes hand in hand. And when we speak to our planners, they tell us that they often start with the timeline with clients because this is a very visual and engaging way of showing clients that their life goals and events are really the centerpiece of their plan. This is a curated experience, so it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach. And then when you start to move on to the charts and the outcomes, and you start to look at, okay, what if we take this track or this track, and you're looking at the assets or the taxes, you're really educating that client. You're really also helping them to be empowered to make more informed decisions about their money choices. And this whole process is collaborative. So all the time you're coaching clients, you're helping them see the value of the advice, and it's so impactful. And we often hear from advisors that it's actually can be quite an emotional experience as well. We hear stories of a few tears and very happy faces at the end of their meetings. So
that's what we like to hear.
Absolutely.
Well, not the crying part, perhaps.
No, that's good crying, good tears.
Yeah. Sticking with Voyant then, so I don't actually know how long it is that Voyant has been around here in the UK, Claire. How long has Voyant been going?
Since 2009.
Wow, okay. And when we think of today then, what exciting things are going on at the moment at Voyant?
Well, you know us, we don't often sit still, and we've got lots going on and some exciting enhancements that we've had some good feedback on from our members over the last sort of 6 months that we'll see later on in the year. But right now, we're most excited about the launch of our new consumer tool, which is Client Go. So Client Go will be a new onboarding or review solution for planners to use with their clients. And what I really like about it is, again, being Voyant, it's all about the visuals, but it really helps with that part that clients struggle with the goal planning. So where you would often start that journey with a client is they would build in their own timeline. So there's a series of nudges, so pictures, and clients literally drag and drop that into their own lifeline and start to build out their own timeline. And then, of course, once they've done that, they can load in their finances. So they can tell their planner about their assets and liabilities and also their spending. And once they've done that, that all then feeds through to the advisor version of the tool. And the advisor can then build on that and then go back to the client with their meeting. So really excited to see the launch of that next week.
Amazing. So as we're discussing, our big topic today is surrounding financial wellbeing. What kind of work are Voyant doing in this area?
Well, we built our platform with wellbeing in mind back in 2009. And I think we really want financial planning to be clear and simple. Very often planners are, doing really complex planning for clients, and that can be quite scary. But we hope that using visuals like Voyant makes the whole process less scary and more simple. A picture paints 1,000 words. We've all heard that saying before. And that's why Voyant is so visual. So we want clients to really visualize their future and give them clarity around those life choices that they've got. And I suppose really the message from us is we are providing you, the planner, with the tools to deliver a fully holistic service to your clients that really leave them feeling empowered and, making the best decisions for their own unique situations.
Good stuff. And just sticking with the financial well-being topic, and also the work that you guys at Voyant as well. Our show today is called The Big T, and we think of that as the big ideas that are out there. And one of the big ideas is financial well-being, obviously, and what impact it could have on society in general. So thinking big for a second, what impact do you think it could have on society if everyone had good financial well-being?
It would be immense. And I really feel that financial well-being starts with today, the present. So if we had good financial well-being, then individuals would have complete control over their day-to-day spending. Their spending would be aligned to their core values as a family, as an individual. They would have those objectives clearly mapped out in their mind. They would be saving towards those objectives and have a clear pathway for that. And really importantly, they would have that protection underpin. So they are protected from life's difficult times. And I think if that was all in place, then can you imagine the impact on mental health around finances and money? Probably one of the biggest drivers of mental health issues. So it'd be great to see, financial well-being, having more impact in the world. And I just hope that maybe Voyant are a small part in the solution in making that happen for clients.
Amazing. So that wraps our time up with you this afternoon, Claire. So thank you so much for coming on.
That went quick.
Yeah, not too bad, eh? Great. So next up, we've got a monologue from Becca, Kowalski from Overstory Finance on the relationship between green investing and financial well-being. Over to you, Rebecca.
Hi, thanks everybody for listening. I'm a little bit nervous about this, but I told myself before I started that if Bukayo Saka can take a penalty, then I've got this. So let's see how we get on. So I'm going to talk about sustainability and climate change and financial well-being and how they can interact. First of all, I'd like to start by asking you to think about something. Think about yourself and your clients. Ask how many of them you think will live to experience directly for themselves the catastrophic effects of climate change, whether that's floods, fires, unbearable heat, drought, crop failure, or mass human migration. You might conclude the percentage is quite small, but in our country at least this is still a problem for future generations. But now ask yourself, how many of us in this session and amongst our clients will potentially be alive to see the day when we realise that we either did enough to help fix the problem or that we irretrievably failed? The answer to this question is much higher, maybe 90% or more. Scientists will know if we can still keep 1.5 degrees alive in the next 3 years. When that day comes, do we as individuals want to feel that we did all we could to avert catastrophe, or can we live with the fact that we were just part of the problem? So that's the doom and disaster bit over. How do we incorporate how your clients feel about environmental and social issues into their financial planning? And how can we as advisors help clients find their happy place and their purpose in a warming world? Let's think about how the climate emergency might personally impact your clients. I've read a book by Dr. Kimberly Nicholas. She's a global sustainability scientist and author, and the book is called Under the Sky We Make. She talks about the 5 stages of facing up to the climate emergency. These are ignorance, avoidance, feeling frozen in the face of doom, dealing with all the emotions, and finding purpose. We're all past point 1. We know this is real. The second point of avoidance or disengagement is very common. Many people are still at this stage. Could engaging with the issue financially be a first step to becoming an empowered part of the solution? Kimberly Nicholas goes on to say that the damage done and the implications ahead are all facts, but what's going to bring change isn't facts, it's feelings. Feelings will bring actions that only the people and places we love can inspire. I invest sustainably and care about sustainability because my daughter says she won't have children. Kimberly grew up on a Californian vineyard, and she knows that climate change means that the wine will never taste the same as it once did. It seems to me that this way of thinking about people and places that really matter to us is irretrievably linked with goals-based financial planning and coaching. If people are already past the ignorance and avoidance stage, then they may feel some of the following emotions: guilt, I didn't do anything; helplessness, I can't do anything; anger and frustration, why isn't everybody else doing something? Or fear, how can I do something to stop it impacting me and my children? All of these emotions will be tested over time, not just through personal lived experience and news feeds, but through finances too. With the incoming disclosure and reporting requirements, investments will be rigorously measured and marked on their carbon footprints and their environmental and social impacts. No matter what stage people might be at, you can help them in a financial coaching environment to move forward. Knowing where your clients are with this issue, surely the biggest ever elephant in the biggest room, will mean that their financial planning at least is informed, personalised and accountable. They won't single-handedly be able to tackle all the challenges, but you can teach them that there is a value in the sense of comfort, sense of purpose and comfort that you can get from trying. I believe there are various types of responsible investor, and as with financial coaching, it's important to explore not only your clients' whats and their hows, but also their whys. In my experience, you can place financial planning clients into 4 broad buckets when it comes to their attitudes to responsible investing. First is the activist investor. They're all over doing their bit for the client, for the planet, but they need help thinking about their long-term personal needs. Then you have the amenable investor. They're happy to help, but you need to give them confidence and trust that they're on the right path and can make a difference. Then you have the aspirational investor, confident, seeking success, sees growth opportunities, likes innovation and technology, believes people can innovate their way out of the problem. They may need coaching through the setbacks and managing the risks. Then you have the averse investor. They like their status quo. Their status quo looks pretty good, thank you. They're reluctant to accept accountability for the state of things. They won't, however, want to be seen to be personally leaving a bad legacy. So how can we help clients find sustainable well-being through our financial coaching and our planning services? I think there are a number of ways. Firstly, if you invest responsibly, you can take the focus off of maximum growth. You can look at an additional form of return from your investment. That return is the good you can do and the good that can make you feel. The beauty of it is that this kind of return kicks in from day one of the investment. You don't have to wait 5 years to have a positive impact. Refreshingly, it doesn't depend at all on the vagaries of the markets. It's something that clients can readily share with their friends, a non-taboo financial gain that people will feel more ready to boast about. As with goals-based planning and cash flow modelling, the focus should be on the essential level of investment return needed to meet one's goals, not maximum returns at any price. Investing responsibly means thinking about the impact of things on the planet, on nature and society, and reflecting on how much we need to take. What's our fair share, and how do we extract that without denying others, present and future, from having their fair share also? We go through similar considerations with cash flow modelling and goals-based planning. We seek the right balance between how much growth we need, how long we need to work for, how much we save and spend, and how much risk we need to take. Financial well-being also puts importance on monetary budgeting and establishing the income required to deliver acceptable lifestyle choices. But finding the level of carbon budgeting you are comfortable with can also help your mental well-being. Kimberly Nicholas says, "Science tells us the world's remaining carbon budget and the carbon cost of different choices, but spending this budget wisely requires each of us to examine and identify our deeply held values and look at how to put them in practice to find meaning." There are key questions on life goals that could be affected by climate change or planetary issues. Questions such as, what job do I pursue? Do I have children? Where is it safe to buy a house? Could I afford to switch to a lower carbon lifestyle, such as a lower paid job with a shorter commute? Recently, Sebastian Vettel of Formula One has been talking publicly of these kind of choices. These are decisions that many young adults are currently making. They will not necessarily want to follow in their parents' carbon footsteps. Another key aspect of financial well-being is the management of risk, but our warming, finite world requires us to consider non-financial risks too. With climate change and the crossing of our planetary boundaries, it's a pretty serious what-if scenario. What is our insurance and our financial model for this? Perhaps in the future, we will be modelling temperature rises as well as rates of inflation and growth in our cash flows. These factors are no doubt linked to some degree. One thing we can do is offer our clients empowerment. Responsible investing provides choices, solutions, engagement with the underlying companies, pooling of assets to add power to your pound, with mutually beneficial collaborations along the way. These might be the only way that some people feel they can do something, and they will be hugely appreciative that you gave them that opportunity. It's not just about investments, of course. We mustn't overlook wider holistic solutions. Lately, all the talk has been about whether you're ESG or ethical or sustainable. This is very important, but it only goes so far. Think also about creating space and resource for your clients to donate, to join, to support, to campaign, to create, and to change. And then there's the sense of purpose. In my view, the saddest clients of all are those who have plenty of money, more than they will ever need, and no partner or direct descendants to leave it to. A distant cousin, a niece or a nephew, the church or a cat's home, sniffing around the edges, inheriting by default. The main purpose of their money, propping up the AUM. But add an H and N to AUM and you get human. These people can be good ancestors to the continuation of humankind, to a livable world and society. And what about those clients who do have descendants, but for whom intergenerational trust is an issue? The kids may not be ready to receive the inheritance just yet, but are the parents or grandparents the best guardians of wealth that they can be? If they are retaining control of the financial assets for now, at least help them look out for the environmental and social assets in the meantime. There's comfort to be had from that knowledge too. Incorporating these sustainable considerations into your financial coaching will really help you become a trusted advisor. You'll be offering a service, not a product, one that's not just about the investments and the growth, but about making these investments serve the values and the goals. Your value add is potentially huge. You serve only the client, you explore their motivations and goals, and you help them fulfill these in so many more ways than just offering a fund that ticks ESG boxes. You can't justify 1% by just picking investments, but you might be able to by policing them and incorporating them into a holistic, sustainable, personal financial plan. We may be on our way up the proverbial creek, but you can offer your clients a really powerful paddle. Thank you.
Well done. That was really, really good, Rebecca. Thank you so much for that very, very inspiring monologue. It's been lovely to work with you over the past 10 months or so, and it's nice to hear that kind of work come to its logical conclusion. So thank you very much for joining us on the show this afternoon. You've been fantastic.
Thank you.
Amanda,
Yes.
what do we have next?
It's time for our big T, big topic. Continue on the theme of financial coaching and well-being. We have Becca Timmins from When We Think.
Hi, Becca. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Dan. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you
So
for having me.
it's a pleasure. So, as Amanda mentioned there, our big topic for today is financial coaching and well-being. Now, you specialize, and I know you specialize because you've worked with us here at Next Gen Planners in helping people get the most out of their meetings by creating what's called a thinking environment. Now, I would imagine that maybe only a few people in the audience will have actually heard of a thinking environment before. I don't think you'll mind me saying that. But what impact do you think creating that thinking environment can have on overall well-being, not just financial?
So it's a great question. I think so. For me, I think it's huge. There's been quite a lot of research come out of the States following what's been termed the Great Resignation. Something like 24 million Americans resigned in a 6-month period last year. And there's people looking at why that was. And what's emerging is that actually the culture of the company that they're working in is something like 10 times more likely, if the culture is toxic, is 10 times more likely to lead to resignation than poor remuneration, which I think is staggering. And what's coming out of that is that the kinds of indicators of toxic culture are things like non-inclusivity, so I'm not being accepted for who I am, and it being a disrespectful culture. Now, what I see with the thinking environment is that it gives us a really deeply respectful way of interacting in meetings and in all of our interactions with other people. And it also celebrates our inherent diversity of thought and identity. And so I see the thinking environment giving us a framework to build diversity and inclusion and a really respectful culture into our businesses, and I think that's hugely impactful for well-being.
Definitely. So, Becca, what practical steps can financial planners in particular take to introduce a thinking environment into their meetings with clients?
So I have to confess, I work more with teams than I do with clients, but I think this principle holds for whoever you're talking to ever. So I think the first thing we could all do is to interrupt a lot less. So there's been some great research done in the form of brain scans, actually, on how do our brains respond to a verbal interruption. Well, they actually respond in the same way as they respond to physical assault, which I think is incredible. And I think if we can give clients or whoever we're with lots of time with the promise that we won't interrupt them to really think things through, I think that's a great step towards building connection, understanding people better. You know, if you're asking your clients great questions and then you're promising you won't interrupt and giving them time to really think, you're going to get much better out of them, much better output from those conversations.
I completely agree, and especially on the interruption piece, we're taught. I mean, we're told to practice good listening, but in practice, do we practice it? And that's something for financial planners to think about: is do you actually still interrupt your clients? Do you actually listen to what they're saying? Did you say when we? I mean, this is completely off script, by the way. But when we were doing our course together, you said that being interrupted has the same impact on your kind of self as being punched in the face.
Basically, yeah, our brains register it in the same way as a physical assault, which you start to notice when you realise that. You start to notice, but it's incredible, isn't it? To think
I mean,
have that impact.
that's like going into a client meeting and punching them straight in the face by interrupting them. I mean, it's like the analogy is a bit loose, isn't it? But you know what I mean. Okay, so when we look at the thinking environment, there's a very, very clear link between linking someone's values to their money and getting there through creative thinking. So values are hugely important. As Rebecca's just been talking about in that last monologue that she did there, you know, the wealthiest people it doesn't exactly mean that they're going to be the happiest people, and values are the things that are really important. So how important is it to identify what you really value if you want to think creatively in the future?
So I think getting clear on your values is great for your thinking in all sorts of ways. It gives you a frame of reference for the thinking that you're going to do about anything and any decisions that you might make. And I also think there's something in understanding our values means that we can align with others who share those values. So if you're looking for where you want to be working, if you know that your values align with your employer's values and the people that you're around, I think you're going to find yourself then in a culture that is more likely to be good for your creative thinking. It's going to put you in a place that makes you feel safe. And ultimately, if we feel safe, our brains aren't in fight, flight or freeze mode, and we can think better and we think more creatively. So yeah, I think values links in a couple of different ways for me.
Definitely. So in terms of, from your point of view, what do you think we could achieve if every internal meeting, for example, was done in a thinking environment?
Oh, that's such an exciting vision. I love that idea. I think fundamentally it comes down to releasing potential, actually. So there's a statistic that shows that something like in most meetings, about 30% of people do 90% of the talking. So if you think of an average team of 6, that's 2 people doing most of the contributing most of the time. So what about the other 4 people? I bet you anything that it's not that they've got nothing to contribute. So I think if we can create frameworks within which everybody gets to contribute, everybody's contribution is genuinely valued, expected, and listened to, I think we start to release potential of all of the people in our team. And when we know that the quality of everything we do depends on the quality of the thinking that we do first, the better thinking we can get in our meetings, the better everything is going to be. The better our decision making is going to be, the better our outcomes are going to be, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I think the impact is potentially huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely identify as being one of those 4 people that would sort of sit back and just listen, but definitely have things to contribute, but don't always feel that you've got the space to say something. So yeah, definitely it's exciting. So thank you so much, Becca. So we're going to bring Claire in for our final segment. So Claire, what are you most excited to see in the financial coaching and wellbeing space over the next decade or so?
Well, that's really interesting because I think when I look back over the last 10 years and how far we've come with financial planning and financial wellbeing, I mean, I don't think it was even a thing 10 years ago, that actually I'm really excited by the future. And what I think is that technology will drive a lot of the change, that tools like Voyant will be the norm for clients, be that, directly using it on their own or using it through a financial planner. But what we absolutely need to happen, and what I really would like to happen, is to see that financial education piece happen. So starting with the national curriculum, ensuring that children are taught about money and finances and money behaviours right from an early age, and then seeing that work all the way through school into their workplace, so that essentially that whole learning piece, that whole education piece is the underpin to making our society a much better place to be and helping people to be more connected to their money choices.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great. And I wish something like that was around when I was at school.
Yeah.
So Becca, I'll ask you the same question. What are you most excited to see in the financial and wellbeing space over the next decade?
So I think there's such a movement towards genuine financial coaching, life coaching in the industry, but it's not the norm yet. And I think in 10 years' time, it will absolutely be the norm. I think you've got Next Gen and other kind of bodies within the industry that are really pushing. This is the right way to do things. Proper financial planning is the right way to do things for clients. It's what people value. And it's the bit they can't do themselves online, frankly. So I think just seeing that become the norm is what I'm really hoping to see in the next 10 years. And then in the wellbeing space, I think COVID has just been a game changer. So many people are putting wellbeing higher on their own agenda. And I just hope that the stuff like the research on toxic culture that I mentioned earlier really drives businesses to recognize that it's actually just good business sense to look after people's well-being. And I'm really excited to see what that drives, because that's the kind of thing that drives innovation. So I'm hoping to see that just become higher and higher on the agenda.
Yeah, definitely. I think the pandemic has highlighted so many different changes that people can work as well. And now we're coming out of the pandemic. It's interesting to see how businesses are facing those changes now and adapting them. And like you said, yeah, people value their culture a lot more than what they're paid every month. So yeah, that's great. Well, thank you once again to our amazing guests, Rebecca, Claire and Becca, for coming in today to talk to us about this really important topic.
Let's get everyone on screen, shall we? We all look like dots from up here, don't we? So that is all that we have time for on today's show. Thank you so much to Claire. Thank you to Rebecca. And thank you, of course, to Becca. God, that was hard for joining us. And, of course, to my amazing host, Amanda. And to you guys for joining us at home. We'll be back in the morning for the big breakfast, where we're looking at the big topic of financial planning. And then we'll be back tomorrow afternoon to look at the same topic, but with some more amazing guests. And, of course, if you do have a mega conference ticket, the Global Financial Planning Conference takes place tomorrow and Wednesday, and it's kicking off at 7:30 a.m. UK time tomorrow morning. But that's all from us today. Thank you so much to everyone for watching. Thank you to our amazing guests for joining us, and we'll see you all very, very soon.